Hello everyone, and welcome to Orientation to Biblical Studies. In this session we're just going to do a brief overview of the course, talk about some of the assignments, and help you prepare for the semester. I would like to apologize. As I mentioned in the email that I sent out to everyone, there was some sort of technical issue with the computer in the on-ground classroom, and for some reason I was unable to get Blackboard to cooperate appropriately, and so unfortunately we weren't able to have that live session. With this being an online course, there are two ways to participate in it. You can either be live in the Blackboard Collaborate program from 8:30 to 9:50 on Monday and Wednesday, or you can watch the videos at a separate time, what's known as asynchronous participation. If you have another class at 8:30, or you have a job or other responsibilities that might prevent you from being able to participate at 8:30, that's perfectly fine. You will want to make sure to take a look at the syllabus posted on Blackboard so that you'll know what your responsibilities are with respect to either of those. There is some written work that's required to demonstrate that you are engaging with the material, and so filling out some notes related to the sessions. And I think not only will it demonstrate to me that you've interacted with the material or that you've watched the videos, but then also, it'll be helpful as you prepare for the exams. So that information is available on Blackboard in the syllabus. Please let me know as soon as possible which way you plan on interacting in the course. That way, I know that whether I should expect you or not during those class sessions. So this is Orientation to Biblical Studies. And in thinking about this course, when you come to a course entitled Orientation to Biblical Studies, there are so many different things that could possibly mean. And so we want to kind of start off with talking a little bit about what we're going to be doing in this course. Ideally, this doesn't happen for everybody, but ideally the goal is that for especially someone majoring in Bible, you are taking this course early in your academic career so that it will help prepare you for additional courses. Certainly other people that take this course might be majoring in vocational Christian ministry. There too, it probably is good to have this course earlier in your degree program. And so unfortunately it might be a situation of after you've learned some things that we'll talk about, I wish I had known this previously, but that's kind of on the level where we'll be teaching it, and it is meant to be earlier on in your career. Well, there are a couple things that we want to try and accomplish in this course. First of all is by talking about the different types of, or the different fields within biblical studies, the different concentrations at Faulkner, thinking about biblical studies as a discipline, how that's developed, what it means today versus what it meant in previous generations. And so we'll spend some time talking about that in the next class period or so, about how did biblical studies develop as a discipline, as well as what are some of the areas within biblical studies that someone could pursue. Now, in one sense, the goal of the program here at Faulkner, the Biblical Studies program, is to make you biblical scholars, but not everyone. In fact, probably most people won't be looking to do graduate work or a PhD in biblical studies as a field. And in fact, probably most of you are approaching this from a ministerial standpoint. you know, being a youth and family minister, a pulpit minister, or a vocational Christian minister, a vocational ministry, where you have a major in a different field, but you're helping out with the work of the church, you know, in a voluntary type way, or something similar. But it's important to kind of see how both of those components, the academic side and the ministry side, work together. And so we'll spend some time in the course, you know, developing approaches, methods, skills in thinking theologically, thinking Christianly about your academic pursuits and your ministerial goals. And really both of these are should be a very important component of who you are if you're taking this course. That there is the academic side to you, and there is the ministerial, the more practical side to you. We want to nurture both here at Faulkner in the College of Biblical Studies, and so we'll spend some time talking about that, thinking about that, and talking about some things related to both of those, but especially in thinking about ministry, which is where most students are looking towards. This is a good opportunity, especially if you are earlier in your career, or early in your program, I should say, in thinking about what is ministry to you. What does it mean to minister to God? How does that fit in with other aspects of life? What are your goals in ministry? What do you hope to accomplish? And how does your academic pursuits fit into that? And so that'll be a component of this as well. And then the final component is doing research in biblical studies. And here probably will be the one area where if you were further along in your degree program, you might have wished you had taken earlier. Because we'll be talking about the ins and outs of doing research, especially in biblical studies. You know, in biblical studies, like any academic field, there are what are known as conventions or standards or you know, ways that you go about doing your research and presenting your research. And so, you know, in psychological or counseling fields, you write a paper in APA style, or if you're in more of an English setting, you would write in an MLA style. Well, in biblical studies, we use SBL, which is the Society of Biblical Literature. It's their method of approach, and so you're going to be introduced to or refreshed in, you know, doing things in biblical studies, how to go about research, where to look for sources, how to judge the weight of sources, as well as thinking about citation, you know, presenting it in a written format. And so that's a large part of what we're going to do. When you take a look at the syllabus, you'll see that that's kind of this content outline gives you an idea of how we're going to progress through the course and how we're going to move through this. There will be, you know, I want to mention this at the start. There will be presentations that you will need to do the week before Thanksgiving. And I'll provide more information as we get closer, but essentially every student on ground or online is going to have to do a presentation based on their research project. You get like a 5 to 10 minute presentation. So for those of you online, you will need to you know, make a presentation. Here too, it's not going to be, you have to be live with the rest of the class. You know, you can just record something and we can make arrangements and we can post it to YouTube or something like that. We'll make those decisions later. But you know, that is something I noticed in this content outline that I wanted to highlight and get you thinking about already, is that there will be a presentation that you need to do towards the end of the semester. But not only in the syllabus, but also on Blackboard, there is a schedule that lists the different topics for each of the classes, readings that you need to do with those classes in preparation for going through the material. And so this is essentially the outline of the direction we'll go through for this semester. There are 4 textbooks that you need to have copies of. The Bible, of course, is one of those textbooks. It is Orientation to Biblical Studies. Right? So we are studying the Bible to some extent, although it's different than, let's say, taking a textual course on a specific book of the Bible. If you are going to be live 8:30 to 9:50 Central Monday and Wednesday, you should probably have your Bible close by. That way you can refer to it. But certainly, having it close by as you're viewing the videos or doing the work, that would be helpful as well. It doesn't matter to me any particular version, and then whatever that was useful for you. But you should be referring to the Bible as far as in looking at the material and connecting with the material and thinking about completing some of the assignments, including the research paper and some of the ministry reflection essays. 3 other textbooks, though, are important for you to get. The first is Andreas Kostenberger's Excellence, the Character of God and the Pursuit of Scholarly Virtue. Kostenberger focuses, the target audience for this book is someone going into that PhD or graduate studies program. But I think that there's a lot of good material in this book in thinking about, even if your focus is professional ministry. I'm going to be a pulpit preacher. I'm going to be youth and family minister. There's a lot that Kostenberger talks about with respect to achieving excellence and pursuing excellence and what kind of virtues should shape your character as a biblical studies scholar, whether that means a minister or the more academic side. And so that's part of the reason why I'm having us explore that. Nancy Viemeister's Quality Research Papers for Students of Religion and Theology. That is the book that's going to help you with respect to the research component, thinking about finding sources, addressing arguments, some things like that. And so that'll help us with the nuts and bolts of undertaking a research project and then presenting that information in the written format. And then finally, Howard Stone and James Duke's How to Think Theologically. The focus of this book is on thinking through the challenges that you will, and the issues and questions that come up in ministry, and how do you begin to approach those questions, right? If you're part of a ministry team and there's this question of like a building project, or should we go with a building project or should we open an inner city mission, and thinking about, well, how do you go about answering that question from a theological standpoint, a biblical standpoint, as opposed to this like cost-benefit analysis, which some people might be tempted to undergo, or what kind of benefit is going to give us. Right? Well, that might not be the best way to answer questions within a church setting. Obviously, I mean, there might be a need to look at Scripture and think about what's most important to God and what's the mission of the church, and some of those other kind of questions before looking at how much is it going to cost us to do this versus this, or what kind of benefit is it going to bring. And so that's where Stone and Duke will help us with some of those questions, and providing some foundations for thinking about a method of how do you, in a church setting, a community setting, address some of those questions. The textbooks, you can, if you haven't gotten them already, you should get them as soon as possible. You can go on the Blackboard store, which is when you pull up Blackboard when you're logging in the very first time. Right in the center is that Blackboard store. You can click on that, and it'll have all your books grouped by your classes. so that you know which books to buy. The good thing about the Blackboard store as well is they have a marketplace, which is similar to other online retailers who provide, like you can get it from this seller or that seller for this cheaper amount. They too provide that information. So if you are concerned about the cost of textbooks, and certainly that's something that a lot of people are concerned about, then that's one way to go about it. The particular edition, if you get electronic or paperback, that doesn't matter as much. But make sure to get those as soon as possible. If you are getting financial aid and your financial aid hasn't come in, you can go to the business office or get in contact with the business office, and you might be able to work out a way to get a voucher on the Blackboard store that will allow you to buy your textbooks, and then then your financial aid money will be when that finally goes through. That way you can get your textbooks instead of having to wait until that financial aid check comes in and it gets to you and all those kind of things. So it's important to kind of get those books as soon as possible and get reading on them. Like I said, the schedule for those readings is available on Blackboard under Schedule. Every syllabus that you have at Faulkner, and really any syllabus in any college, is going to have an objective session. What is it that you'll be able to know or to do, or what is it you should value after you've completed this course? And we've already kind of touched on some of these in talking about the outline and what we're going to cover in the course. But the goal here is that you understand the field of biblical studies, how those fields, the disciplines relate to ministry, thinking about your goals in ministry, how biblical studies fits in with that, and then of course those those last two, the third and fourth objective, related to research, under doing the research project, a big important part of biblical studies. You're not going to have a research paper in every biblical studies course you take, but you're going to have one in a lot of them, especially in a lot of your textual courses. You'll find a research project. Well, how is it that you're going to demonstrate to me that you are able to, that you know these things, or you're able to do these things? Well, there are a variety of assignments that we'll have throughout the semester, ways that things that will help us or demonstrate to you or demonstrate to me that you are able to do these. So let's talk a little bit about each of these brief overviews. As they get closer to being due, we'll spend more time in class, and I'll have more information on Blackboard. There already is information on Blackboard about some of these assignments, so you can certainly look at that information if you're interested. But here are some overviews about what we're going to be doing this semester. The first category there are the practical assignments. Largely these are related to the research paper, and they will require you to submit submit a topic, submit some more sources that you found, all to kind of help you do some of the research process and learning some of the things to do in undertaking a research project in biblical studies. And so that's more in the second half of the course, and I'll say more about them as we get closer to that time. That's one component of these. Another component of this is what we might call the engagement component. This slide was originally, originally this was supposed to be presented the same time as the face-to-face class, and so it's kind of worded more with the face-to-face section in mind. If you're going to be live with the face-to-face section at 8:30, then I do want you to be prepared, be willing to talk. We'll have the the speakers up. We'll have a camera there, so you can participate if you have the equipment to do so. But many of you are going to be watching the videos later, and so you won't necessarily have the opportunity to participate in that kind of discussion because it's you're watching the video. So one of the things that's required, especially if you're taking it asynchronously, is that you take notes on the videos and then submit that information. You submit your notes to me electronically. That can either be send me an email with typed out notes, or take pictures of handwritten notes, share a Google Doc. And there's all sorts of different ways you can do that. But this will be essentially your attendance for the course. This will demonstrate that you've interacted with the material. And so each time you submit something like that, there are guidelines in the syllabus, right? It's got to be within 2 days after the face-to-face class. And so for Monday, this coming Monday's class, you must watch the video, submit the notes by Wednesday, and then Wednesday's class by Friday. That will demonstrate to me, okay, yeah, you're engaging with the material. Make sure that you're watching the videos, staying up with the class. It's got to be more than just the PowerPoint bullet points. I want to see you take some good notes, right? That you're actually thinking about and writing down things that are going to be helpful for you in the exams and some of the other assignments. So for each time you do that, you get points towards your final attendance total. You can miss 2 classes before it starts to affect your grade. You don't lose points, but you're not gaining points. And then one of the things you do have to watch out for, of course, is the missing too many classes, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Another assignment that is an important part of the final grade is the ministry reflective assignment. We've already kind of mentioned that a little bit, but you'll write a paper this semester related to your view on ministry, your goals, how the major and your track and all those kind of things, how that fits into that. The first draft, the preliminary reflection paper, is due, I believe it is in week 6, which I want to say is September 22nd, but I'm not positive. The date is on Blackboard, so refer to that. But obviously this is a preliminary essay, especially if you've not had the opportunity in another class to think about this before, but just kind of writing about your views on ministry, your goals, how your work at Faulkner connects with all of those things. And then at the end of the semester, right before finals, you'll have the opportunity to revise and resubmit based on comments that I make on the preliminary essay, insights you've gained from class meetings, as well as insights gained from reading through the book, the Excellence books. And so you'll have that opportunity to make some adjustments, and that'll be a second grade to kind of give you the opportunity to think more. Right? The idea is that you think through it once, think about it again. Right? Oh, well, I didn't take this into consideration, or I learned this new material, or this was something that came up in the readings. All of that is meant to kind of deepen your philosophy of ministry. Major assignment, of course, is the research paper. This is due the Thursday before Thanksgiving break starts. And even online we'll have Thanksgiving break, so that week there won't be any assignments specifically due. And so the research paper will be due before that, so it won't be hanging over your head into Thanksgiving break. The research paper, the topic, has to be a specific text in the Bible. I have placed on Blackboard a list of those texts. They are what we might call problem passages, in the sense that there are either multiple interpretations, or there might be some issue with the manuscripts of that particular passage. But essentially, these are passages that have multiple interpretations or have some sort of challenge to them in understanding them. And so choose one of those passages. Try to choose it fairly early. But those are the specific topics. Now, if for some reason you don't like any of the options that are available, you can get in contact with me and we can talk about another possible passage for you to research. The reason I say that is so that I can be sure for your benefit that there's going to be enough material for you to write on. The only passage that is off limits, so to speak, is the woman taken in adultery passage, John chapter 7, verse 53 through chapter 8, verse 11. The reason it is off limits is that is a passage we will be using as our example passage throughout this semester in talking about how to do, writing about sources, some of the challenges in biblical studies, finding sources, etc. We'll be using John 7:53 through 8:11, and so that is the passage you can't use because essentially I will have done a lot of your work for you. So you'd have to pick something other than that. I'd encourage you to find one of those passages that is listed on Blackboard. The final paper must be 2,500 words. That works out to be about 10 pages double-spaced. A lot of the attention will be on your argument, the content of the paper, but a sizable part of the grade will also be on proper formatting, making sure your sources are cited correctly, all sorts of things that we will have discussed in the semester. The assignment is available already on Blackboard, and so you can click on the research paper assignment. And there is a button that says View Rubric. That's the grading rubric, the standards, the criteria I'll be using for grading your papers, so you can see, kind of things I'm looking for, how the different grading is going to break down, and so that's available there already for you to look at. There are 2 exams in this class. The first is the midterm exam, October 3rd. Since you are taking this online, you will have that entire day to take it. Once you start the exam, you'll have an hour and 20 minutes, just like the people in the face-to-face class will. But whatever time is going to be most convenient for you that day is, it'll be available for you to take. I'll provide a study guide at least 2 weeks before the exam for you to kind of cull your material, really figure out how to bring some things together, help focus on what to study. The exam will be a combination of multiple choice or some short answer. There will usually also be an essay, a short essay, maybe like a long paragraph or 2 paragraphs, and that will be the scope of the midterm. The final will be similar. It says December 7th there at 8 a.m. That is the time for the face-to-face class. Much like the midterm, you will have the entire day to take it. When you start it, you'll have an hour and 50 minutes to finish it. But that will be December 7th. Excuse me. The final will be comprehensive, cover the entirety of the course. Study guide will be provided as well, and it will be a similar format: multiple choice, short answer, and an essay question. This slide gives you the breakdown, how much each of the assignments are worth. So it kind of gives you an idea about how the weight of each. Several of you I've had in classes before, and so you've heard me say several times about doing things as points versus percentage. But for those of you that haven't had me in class before, I use points in order to make sure that no one assignment is going to completely derail your entire semester. You can do poorly on an assignment and still be able to pull out a good grade. But obviously, if you don't do well on several assignments and you miss some things, don't turn in some things, it is going to add up. but the fortunate thing here is that one mistake isn't going to ruin your entire semester. The other thing, of course, is that with points, you can figure out at any point in the semester what your grade is and what you need to do in order to achieve the grade you want. So if you're wanting an A and you want to get at least that 900 points, and so you can, let's say around midterm, look at your grade and say, okay, I have this many points. What do I need to do with what's left in order to get that A? How do I need to do on the final? How do I need to do on the research paper, right? And so you can always kind of figure out where you go in the breakdown. And so the grading scale there gives you an idea of what your point total needs to be in order to achieve those letter grades. A couple important points. We did talk about attendance and participation, which is a little different for this online course, and so it's submitting those notes, and submitting those notes in a timely manner. If you miss more than 7 days of classes, 7 classes you did not submit notes for, you could end up with an FA in the course. So even though you're doing it online, you could still end up with an FA if you do not keep up with those, watching the videos, submitting those notes, those kind of things. You can miss 2 of them before it will affect your grade. With makeup works, with it being online, there can be technical issues, and then of course, there could be personal issues, illness, or something else. Exams can be made up with an excused absence. You do have the entire day, so hopefully you would have some time in that day to take the exam. But if there is something going on, like an illness or hospitalization or loss of a loved one, or like a family member, parent, grandparent, get in contact with me as soon as possible so that we can make the right arrangements and make sure to get that work taken care of. A lot of the other work you can submit late, up to 2 days. You do lose some points each day, but there really isn't a makeup in the sense of getting being able to make that up, because you do have some lead time on those assignments, and so they're not just popping up one day and they're due the next. They are available for several days, sometimes several weeks, for you to complete. Technology, again, this slideshow was largely made for the face-to-face class, but I would encourage you not to be distracted while you're watching the videos, or if you are live. Certainly I can't see you like I would in a face-to-face class, but that can be a distraction for you, and so I want to encourage you not to do it. But it's not the same kind of thing as a face-to-face class. With grades, I try to grade everybody fairly. I try to grade fairly from online face-to-face classes. If you come across something that you think I have graded either unfairly or I've missed some things, maybe made a mistake in adding something correctly, maybe I turn back your midterm and you say, well, I think this essay is, you missed some things I was saying here, and so it should actually be a higher grade. By all means, get in contact with me. I am more than willing to look over the exam or the essay or whatever, and not in a vindictive way of trying to find ways to knock other points off, but that I can review and make sure that you get the grade you earned. University policy, however, is that you have to get in contact with me about that within 3 days after the graded assignment has been returned. So once I post that grade on Blackboard and you have access to my feedback, then there'll be then you have 3 days to say, I think you missed something here, or I think something wasn't graded correctly. We'll stress this point about academic honesty later on in the semester. We'll spend a couple classes on academic honesty, especially in the context of citation. But I do want to encourage you to make sure that you are providing work that is your own work. You know, it comes down to an issue of integrity, and we are all called to be people of God and people of upright character, but especially, right, those of us that are going into some sort of ministry, we especially need to be people of integrity. Yeah, we fall down, yeah, we'll sin, but, you know, we should be trying to be people of character, good moral character. And so, you know, as you submit assignments, make sure you're submitting things that are your work, that you're not plagiarizing, taking somebody else's work and presenting your own, that you're not cheating, other things that would be against the academic honor code. So make sure to keep that in mind, and as I said, we'll talk more about that as we get to the specific classes, those specific days in the class. If you need academic accommodations because of a documented learning disability or some other type of condition that requires any variety of academic accommodations, make sure to get in touch with Project Key there as soon as possible. Either Dr. Schaefer or Ms. Guy will help you figure out, we'll look at your documentation, figure out what is needed most, and we'll get in contact with me, and then the two of us can make sure that we make the right kind of accommodations that will make sure that you will have success. So keep that in mind as you you know, as you start the semester. So if this is something that is a need for you, if this is something that you need to be aware of, you may have already handled it, but do that early in the semester so that we can start off on the right foot, start you on the path to success as soon as possible. I know several of you are going online because you have another course at the same time, but you're here in Montgomery, and so you might want to get in contact with me by just dropping by my office. And that's fine. Those times, 10:40 to 12, Monday and Wednesday, 8:30 to 9:45, Tuesday, Thursday. I'm in my office. If something happens where I'm not going to be in my office, I'll send everybody an email and let you know. But most of you are not in Montgomery, and so you can you know, get in contact with me, send me an email. And if we need to chat on the phone or we need to Skype or something else, you know, we can make those arrangements. But I just want to let you know that I am available specifically during those times in my office, and so I have my email up, you know, and I have two screens here in my office, and so I have my email up on the one screen, and especially during these times I try to, you know, pay attention, and if it's something simple, I'll just respond back as it comes up. But usually I try to answer emails within 24 hours. If it gets to be more than 48 hours and you haven't heard from me, please get in contact with me again. Usually I might have meant to mark it as new and keep it, and it gets lost further down the list or something like that. And so if you haven't heard from me within 48 hours, you know, please get in contact with me again about your issue. But know that I'm here during those times specifically. If you are in Montgomery and you have classes at those times and want to stop by, and I mean, even if you're not in Montgomery but you're passing through and you want to stop by and talk about class, or if there's something else that's on your mind that you want to talk about, you know, and it's not during those times, feel free to set up an appointment. I'm on campus a lot during the week, more than just those times and classes. So, you know, I have other times for us where we could meet. But during those times, if you're in Montgomery, you can just stop by. Shoot me an email, just let me know you're coming. You don't have to, but it would be nice. But yeah, I'm here, so please let me know what I can do to help you succeed. I think that pretty well covers a lot of what we're going to be looking at over the semester. Again, I apologize for the technical issues. Hopefully that will be the last of them. I don't think it will, but I hope that it will be the last of them. I am going to make this video and all the course videos available on YouTube. The reason I do that is that sometimes if you're trying to access the videos from an iPad, if you try to go through Blackboard, they don't come up properly. And so I'll post a link. So if you're watching this and watching it through Collaborate, but YouTube would be more useful or more convenient, I will be posting a link on Blackboard to a playlist of videos, and that way you can use YouTube, either the app or the Safari browser on your iPad. And so that may be another way that'll be more convenient for you. But by all means, if you have any questions, if an issue comes up, especially if an issue comes up, right, contact me as soon as possible, whether that's a technical issue with Blackboard, whether that's a class issue, whether if there's personal things going on in your life that's affecting your schoolwork. The sooner you get with me about that, the better opportunity I have to make some arrangements with you. But I hope that you have a great semester. I'm looking forward to interacting with you, and hopefully this will be a course that will be profitable for you as you look to take other courses here in biblical studies.